Armyworms. Armyworms are very common serious pepper plant pests. They come in different types. The types include yellow-striped armyworm. This primarily feeds on foliage but can also attack fruit, creating holes. Then we have the fall armyworm, botanically known as frugiperda. Fall armyworms can cause severe damage to fruit, leading to premature drop and fruit rot. Despite the name, fall armyworm do not only come during the fall, but the fall armyworm with the closely related beet armyworms, which we're going to look at a little later in this video, they breed all year round and can lay eggs in spring, summer, fall, and winter. Their life cycle takes up to 90 days in the winter and as few as 30 days in the summer. The adult brown, gray, and cream moths lay their eggs in clusters on leaves of your pepper plants. These eggs hatch after just a few days, and the larvae emerge and mature into what we call the armyworm. It's these larvae that do all the damage. Fall armyworms are brown with gray stripes, while the beet armyworms, which we will look at later, are green striped with pale and dark green coloring. The fall armyworm will devour the leaves, typically starting from the edges and working their way in. Not only does this harm the plant and leave it open to diseases, but it reduces the plant's vigor and may impact the size of your harvest. In your effort to get rid of the fall armyworms, you can use beneficial insects like parasitoid and the tachinid wasps, as well as minute pirate bugs. These can help keep populations under control. Now let's also look at the beet armyworm, which is botanically known as Spodoptera exigua. This is a common pest that feeds on both leaves and fruit, potentially causing defoliation and fruit loss. Adult beet armyworms are small, mottled gray or dusky-winged moths. Females lay eggs in clusters on leaves. The clusters are covered with fluffy, dirty, white scales. Eggs hatch in a few days, and tiny caterpillars begin feeding while still clustered together on the plant. In 2 to 3 weeks, beet armyworm larvae are full grown and about 1 inch long. The body is smooth with few hairs and predominantly green with mottled dark lines along the back. Just above the spiracle, lengthwise along the body, is a dark green to black line edged on each side with white. There is usually a small dark spot above the spiracle on the second pair of the true legs. Besides pepper, beet armyworms feed on sugar beet, alfalfa, beans, tomatoes, and a variety of weeds such as lambsquatters, redroot pigweed, and nettle-leaf goosefoot. For farmers who have winter and spring, during winter and spring, the population is concentrated on weeds. But in late spring, moths begin laying eggs in the pepper field when the plants are young. Newly hatched larvae feed together near the egg cluster and gradually disperse as they grow. They skeletonize leaves and may spin a loose webbing over the feeding site. Older larvae chew irregular holes in leaves and feed on young fruit. Beet armyworm is a serious pest of pepper. It feeds on both leaves and fruit. As the fruit forms, beet armyworm bores into the calyx end. Both defoliation and fruit loss result from the feeding. Unlike many caterpillar pests, the feeding is quite messy, with webbing and excrement present. How to manage this pest from your garden? Regular monitoring of the leaves and fruit is important in detecting an infestation of beet armyworms. Treatments may be necessary if fruit damage is occurring. You can also use biological control. Many natural enemies attack beet armyworms. Among the most common parasites are the wasps, Hyposota exigui, and Chelonas insularis, and the tachinid fly Lespecia archipivora. Organically acceptable methods include biological control and sprays. When it comes to what to spray, look at what is acceptable in the area where you're staying. Different sprays are acceptable and not acceptable in different parts of the area and availability. So you may need to visit your local vendor for pesticides. But choose a pesticide that won't kill the beneficial insects in your garden. Before you decide to treat, do monitoring and look for the cream-colored egg mass or later for the feeding on the seedlings and leaves to determine if beet armyworms are present. Also, sample fruit when it first appears. A 5-minute timed search is useful in determining the need for treatment. If one or more larvae or egg masses are found in 5 minutes, treatments may be justified. Ground applications provide maximum effectiveness of the pesticide. Treat if beet armyworms are on the fruit. Other ways to identify armyworm damage. Look at your leaf. Armyworm larvae cause extensive defoliation, leaving plants with a raggedy torn appearance. Then you can also examine the fruit. Armyworms can bore into the calyx end of peppers, leading to fruit loss. They can also create holes on the surface of the fruit. Other signs include looking for the webbing, excrement, and skeletonized leaves, which are indicative of armyworm feeding. These identifications of armyworms apply to all types of armyworms. Some of the general methods you can use to control armyworms include natural control, including beneficial insects. Attract ladybugs and lacewings, which feed on armyworm eggs. Then you can clean your garden. Regularly remove fallen leaves, fruits, and dead plant material, as these can harbor armyworms. The third natural control that you can practice is weed control. Remove weeds, as they can attract armyworm egg-laying females and provide food source for larvae. The fourth natural control is neem oil. Use neem oil spray to control larvae. The fifth natural control is Bacillus thuringiensis, known as BT. Spray plants with BT, a bacterial control that kills caterpillars. Then you can also employ chemical control, like insecticides. Use insecticides containing active ingredients like bifenthrin, cyflothrin, cypermethrin, lambda-cyhalothrin, permethrin, or spinosad. These names, I'll leave them up for you. The second chemical control is using foliage sprays. Apply foliage sprays with 5% cottonseed oil to control eggs and young larvae. Then the third chemical control is the use of pheromone traps. Use traps baited with synthetic sex pheromones to monitor adult populations. There are other ways that you can prevent armyworms, and these include 1. Monitor plants regularly. Inspect plants frequently, especially the undersides of leaves, for signs of armyworm infestations. Plant variety selection. Choose pepper varieties that are known to be more resistant to armyworms. Crop rotation. Rotate crops to prevent the buildup of armyworm population in the soil. Now you know what to do. Go protect your plants against armyworms. Or if your garden is already under attack, now you know what you need to do to treat your garden and get rid of armyworms.